Hey guys, how's it going? This is George from TechLunar, and in this video I'm gonna share with you every single tip that I know I've been using on my iPhone in order to extend the battery life to the absolute maximum. Please make sure to grab a pen and a paper because this is gonna be a very long video and a lot of tips which I'm gonna be sharing with you guys. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Alright guys, initially we're going to talk about with some tips which are not new with iOS 15, but they apply with most iPhone users. And one of these happens to be Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Now I know what you're going to say, that you turn it off when you don't need it, but if you turn it off with Control Center, just like that, you actually disconnect your iPhone to your Wi-Fi, but Wi-Fi is still turned on. So let me show you. So if you go to Settings, and here you're gonna see where it says not connected on Wi-Fi, and if you click on that you'll see that Wi-Fi is turned on. So just disable it. So you go back and you'll see that Wi-Fi is turned off. Same thing with Bluetooth. Let's swipe down the Control Center and then turn it off, and you'll see that it's still turned on. As you see, it is white. So go back on Settings, go to Bluetooth and disable it here as well. And then if you swipe down the Control Center, you're gonna see that all of these icons are dark gray, meaning that they are turned off completely. Also, if you tend to use a lot of data, then I highly encourage you to turn off mobile data when you don't need it, because even in your background, your iPhone is performing some tasks and not only is wasting battery life, but also is wasting your data. You can also save some battery life while using mobile data by preventing some apps from using mobile data. So for example, in my case, only Safari can be used while I have mobile data turned on. So for example, if I use mobile data and I try to launch Facebook, Facebook is not gonna work. So only have the absolute minimum apps that you want to use when you turn on mobile data. And don't worry, you can always change the list later on. Another tip that I'm very obsessed with using is enabling airplane mode. Airplane mode is gonna disable any cellular connections coming out or in to your phone. That means that you won't be able to receive any calls or text messages unless you have Wi-Fi turned on. So to do that, just swipe down the Control Center and then tap on the airplane icon. You can also do this by going to Settings and then make sure that the first option is turned on. Please keep in mind that if you don't have Wi-Fi turned on and you're not connected to an internet connection, then you won't be able to receive calls on your iPhone. So next up is low power mode. See, if your iPhone drops below 20%, your iPhone is going to automatically enter low power mode. This is going to disable some functionalities such as email push, and also it's going to reduce the performance of your iPhone a bit, and also you're going to notice that the display is going to get slightly dimmer. So these are some stuff that your iPhone is doing in order to make your iPhone last a bit longer. To enable this, just go on the Control Center and then go down and make sure that this icon is enabled. Just tap on it. You can also do this by going to Settings, scroll all the way down and then go to Battery, and here you'll see low power mode. Now speaking about battery, you can also go here and see the biggest contributors to your battery life. And in my case, as you can see, is Messenger and YouTube. Now this is another great tip to consider, is to avoid excess use of your top apps. So for example, in my case, I should avoid using Messenger too much and YouTube as well. And here you're going to show you the activity and the battery level over time. You can also do this by looking at the last 10 days. The biggest contributors in my case is YouTube, Instagram, Safari, Messenger, Facebook. So if I put a limit to myself to use these apps less and only for better use, then I'll end up using my iPhone less, and of course battery lasts longer. You can also see the activity, so how many hours you have been using these apps over time. You'll be surprised with these some numbers. Like you say, oh, I didn't use my iPhone too much, but eventually you will see that you use your iPhone for 6 hours, but you thought you only used it for about 2 hours. You can also check your battery health by going to battery health, and you can see that my iPhone has a maximum capacity of 86% of the initial maximum capacity of my iPhone. So you'll see that the maximum capacity will drop as you use your iPhone. And to prevent from this happening, then make sure to take a good care of your phone and avoid charging it way too many times. If you tend to use a lot of apps on your iPhone, you may end up with something like this. Now I know you may realize that when you quit an app, just like that, you swipe down. So for example, if I open Clock and then I swap just like that, the app is gonna be quit. But it doesn't actually quit. if you swipe up, you'll see all the apps that you have used a while ago and you didn't actually quit them from your memory. These apps still work on your memory, they take up some storage in your memory, and also they consume extra energy from your battery that it shouldn't do. So to completely quit an app, just swipe like that. So swipe up like that. Do this with all apps that you don't use. And then your iPhone doesn't have to focus on these apps anymore, so they're out of your RAM, and hence you have saved some juice of your battery. A lot of times you tend to use your iPhone for a long period of time and you want to go to the toilet or you want to talk to someone, and you tend to leave your iPhone just like that. You don't turn it off, you just leave it like that, and you tend to forget about it. It's a good idea when you forget to turn off your iPhone by pressing on the button physically to let it turn off the display by itself. And to do that, you can go to settings and then here type auto lock. There we go. And here on auto lock, make sure that you set it as 1 minute or 30 seconds. It depends on you. In my case, I'm gonna set it as 1 minute, but here's what happens when you enable low power mode. If you enable low power mode, you'll see that automatically this functionality goes to 30 seconds. If you enjoy playing games on your iPhone, then you may realize at some point that your iPhone begins to get very hot, and of course this leads to a lot of battery drain. So when your iPhone gets too hot while playing your favorite game, just go ahead and reduce the brightness to the lowest comfortable level. Please make sure that you also can see while playing your game. Leave your iPhone on the side for a few minutes in order to cool down, and then you can go back to play your favorite game. This is a good strategy in order to prevent damaging your battery's health and reducing its total maximum capacity. If you're having so many unread emails, then what's the point of having your iPhone to automatically and frequently check if you have new emails on the background, which can add an extra pressure on your battery life. So to make your iPhone to not look for new emails automatically on the background, then go to settings and go to mail all the way down, and here go to accounts, fetch new data, and fetch, make sure that it's set as manually and make sure that push is turned off. So in that case, if you want to check your latest emails, just enable Wi-Fi and then go to mail and then swipe all the way up in order to refresh. It may take some time, but you're only going to be doing this a few times per day and only at times when you really want to check for your latest emails. When you receive calls and you hear the ring of your iPhone, you don't need it to vibrate at the same time. There's another what I call waste of energy, which if you disable the vibration while on ring, it's gonna save a little bit of battery life. So to do that, go to settings, go to sound and haptics, and on the top where it says vibrate on ring, make sure it's disabled. While you're using your iPhone likes to track what you have been doing just to keep a log of your past actions. So for example, it may keep track of your location, where you went a few hours ago, which can help you in some ways. So for example, if you don't remember a shop, then you can go to this setting and look for it. But most of us, we don't really need our iPhone to track us on whatever we do. So it's a good idea to go ahead and disable those settings. So to do that, go to settings, go to privacy, and go to location services. Scroll all the way down and go to system services, and here you can go ahead and disable anything that you don't need. So for example, I never use Apple Pay, so I'm just going to disable that. I also don't really tend to use Compass, so I'm going to disable this as well. Same thing with device management, but please avoid disabling stuff like emergency call and SOS, Find My iPhone, because these are absolutely important. So for example, if you are on an emergency and you want to call SOS, then at least they can see where you at. So don't disable these ones. I also don't use HomeKit, so I'm going to disable that, but I'm going to keep everything else. I also going to disable iPhone analytics and routing and traffic because this is just for Apple and product improvement, but this is not really benefiting us. Also, you don't really need significant locations, so you can go also and disable this. It's going to keep track on where you have been a few days ago, yesterday, today, etc. In my case, it shows that I've been to the gym 2 days ago, but I don't really need that. So I'm just going to go ahead and disable it, and I'm going to press on turn off. And at the same time, you can go back, and here you can go ahead and change the location services settings on the apps that appear here. So for example, for WhatsApp, I tend to use never, as I don't really need WhatsApp to check my location. You may have it always, but if you have had it as always, then this means that the app will check your location even when you're not using the app. So make sure to set it as while using the app, or even never if you don't really need it. You can do this to the rest of the apps and see what really suits you or not. And if you don't care at all about location services, just turn them off completely. However, if you disable location services, you're gonna also lose track with some very important functionalities such as Find My iPhone. So if you don't know where you left your iPhone and you look for it, then you won't be able to track your iPhone from another device. So be very cautious with this option. If you're not a big fan of notifications, then I feel you, because I'm not a big fan of notifications either. So all you have to do is to simply disable the notifications from all your apps. So if you go to settings and go to notifications, and here you're gonna see all the apps which can send you notifications. But in most cases, you may not need all the apps to send you notifications. So if you don't want an app to send you notifications, then you can simply click on the app and you can turn it off, just like that. If you like using so many apps on your iPhone, then you may want these apps to launch as fast as possible and make sure that they have the latest updated content. But this can lead to excessive use of battery energy, and hence, without realizing, your battery may run a bit shorter than it should. And this can be seen on background refresh if you go to settings, then on the search, type background search, background refresh, my mistake, and go ahead and disable any apps that you don't want them to refresh the content. Now, social media apps tend to use this feature a lot, for example, Facebook. So you're gonna go ahead and disable all of your social media apps. So you can go to Instagram as well, LinkedIn as well, Messenger as well, and any other apps that you don't really use. You can also go ahead and completely disable background app refresh by going to background app refresh and set the option to off. Now this may take an extra delay to load your apps and load the apps with the latest content, but at least it's gonna save some battery life on your iPhone. Siri is a very powerful feature, and it does so much more than simply asking straight questions and getting straight answers. It's going to provide you with some recommendations when you turn on your phone. So for example, if you swipe down, you will see that I have some recommendations on the top here, for example Messenger, Instagram, and this is because Siri did some sort of background tracking to find some of the apps that I use the most when I turn on my iPhone. But this actually takes extra battery life, especially if you don't really use Siri and you don't really care about this section. So how do you disable it? It's very simple. You go to settings and then you go on Siri and search. Scroll it down and just disable all of these options. Then once you do that, then just go back and go notifications, go to Siri suggestions, and just make sure that it's disabled as well. So if we go back and we swipe down, you're not gonna see this notification bar, which is gonna save you some battery life along the way. It hasn't been long since Apple introduced widgets, and widgets are very convenient to have on your screen, so for example to see the stocks or even see the weather without having to press on the weather app. But widgets tend to occupy extra memory, which also leads to extra energy from your battery. So if there's a way to reduce widgets on your screen or even get rid of them completely, then you can save some extra juice on your battery life. To get rid of the widgets on your screen, you can just keep holding and press on remove widget. And don't worry, by removing the widgets, it's not gonna get rid of the app behind it, in this case stocks, but it's just gonna get rid of the widget from your screen. So press on remove, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the other one because I don't really need the calendar on my screen every single day. So just gonna press on remove and then it will be gone. One of the biggest factors of why your battery runs out very quickly is because of your screen. And this happens with every single smartphone or device which has a screen. It consumes a lot of energy. And the brighter your screen is, the more energy it will consume. So for example, if I go ahead and reduce the brightness of my screen, you notice that the pixels are dimmer and hence the screen is going to consume much less energy. But it's really hard to see like that because everything is so dark, and also is not very good for your eyes. So what you can do instead is to preserve the brightness of your screen but reduce the brightness of the very bright pixels. So for example, here the white areas can be reduced. So to do that, go to settings, then go to accessibility, go to display and text size, scroll all the way down and make sure that white point is enabled. So notice the intensity of the pixels on my screen. Reduce white point is turned off, but when I turn on, you'll see that the pixels are dimmer. I can also increase this setting and will make the screen dimmer. But I like to keep it about 40%. I think this is a very comfortable level and it doesn't have very bright pixels on your screen, but also they're not very dim. I think this is pretty much the sweet spot. If you tend to use your iPhone for a long period of time without breaks, then you may end up hurting your eyes. Although this may be a good idea to talk to your doctor to get some screen glasses, but there's another feature which you can use especially during the nights in order to avoid damaging your eyes as well as to avoid having bright pixels on your screen. And this is of course dark mode. And to enable dark mode, simply go to settings, go to control center and make sure that you have dark mode on the include controls. So if you don't have it, I'm just gonna remove it right now. So you go down to where it says more controls and you see this icon saying dark mode. So just press on the plus button and it's gonna be added here. Just gonna also rearrange it to put it in a more convenient position. Just gonna quit settings and I'm gonna swipe down. And you notice that this dark mode icon is here. So I'm gonna turn it on and you'll see how the screen now changes. You see that the colors are reduced and many apps actually work well with dark mode. So for example, if I go to Mail, you'll notice that it's dark. Even if I go to App Store, same thing applies. But please keep this in mind that this doesn't work very well on every single app. But if I go on Safari, for example, you're not gonna see a dark background, which indicates that this unfortunately doesn't work on every single app. But Apple is very well aware that dark mode is increasing popularity because it's better for your eyes, more relaxing, and you can use your phone for longer periods of time. So that's why many developers are considering changing their apps in order to support dark mode. If you're a routine-based person and say you work from 9 to 5 and then 5 to 6 you go back from your work, 6 to 8 you want to have fun with your kids, 8 to 9 this is your personal time so you can spend time on social media, stuff like that. But from 9 p.m. to the next morning you don't want to use your phone at all. So you want to disable Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, you want to enable airplane mode because you don't want to receive any calls, and also you want to enable low power mode in order to save as much battery life as possible during the night. So that's why Apple introduced what is called focus mode, where with iOS 15 you can heavily customize it. For example, you can tell your iPhone to enter sleep mode at a specified time. So let's see how this works. So to do this, you go to settings, you go to focus mode, and you will see some pre-made focus modes that you already have. If you don't have iOS 15, you may still have something like this, but you won't be able to fully customize it. So initially, let's go to Do Not Disturb. This is the standard focus mode that you tend to turn on or turn off even if you swipe down with the control mode. You will see here where it says focus, so if you tap on it, then Do Not Disturb is going to be enabled. But if you long press, you'll see that you have all the other different focus modes that you have pre-made. And you can even create a new one by pressing the plus button. But to simplify things, let's go and edit Do Not Disturb just to see how this works. So in allowed notifications, you'll see which people are allowed to call you during focus mode. In my case, I have none, and even what apps can send you notifications. In my case, I also have it as none. You can also go to home screen and you can choose to hide notification badges. This is going to prevent you from having any distraction, and you can go also to enable custom pages. So when Do Not Disturb is enabled, then only this screen, for example, will be visible. So let's take a look. So as you can see, I cannot swipe to the right, and I also cannot swipe to the left because there's only one page. Let's go back to settings, and you can also tell it automatically when to turn on. So as you can see, in my case, I told Do Not Disturb to be enabled every day at 12 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I can click on that, and I can also change that if I want to. And also you can make Do Not Disturb to be automatically enabled when you go to a certain location. So for example, say that you're working at an office in XYZ13 address, then when you visit that address, Do Not Disturb will be automatically turned on. And now you're probably going to ask me, how does this contribute to saving battery life? Well, you're not going to receive any notifications. Then also by having specific pages on your home screen, that you're only going to have certain icons on your screen and it's not going to be overloaded. So if you have so many pages and there's a lot of traffic going on your home screen, so which takes some extra energy juice. Another very powerful feature I want to share with you guys is shortcuts. Now you may never have used shortcuts, but I can tell you that it's extremely powerful, And I'm going to give you an example of how they work. So for example, say that your battery life goes below 20%, then you can tell your iPhone to switch off Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, enable low power mode, enable airplane mode, make your screen dimmer, so drop the brightness. So you can do stuff like this, which saves a lot of time instead of having to do this manually, and it's gonna help your iPhone to last a bit longer than just enabling low power mode. So let me show you. So you go to shortcuts, and then you're gonna go to automation, and here as you can see I have already some pre-made automations, but I'm gonna take you from the beginning and show you exactly how to create one. So to do that, just click on the plus button on the top right screen, create a personal automation, and here you need to choose an event of when you want the automation to begin. So for example, you can make an automation to begin when time goes 9 p.m, even when you arrive at the gym, for example, or very importantly, something that I like to use, when battery level goes to a specific point. So let's go ahead and try with the time, because I think this is probably the most important thing for someone who has a very tight schedule. So you go to time of the day, and you can say, for example, I'll say 10 because half past 10 because I tend to sleep at 10:30. Okay, and I'm gonna make sure that it's set as daily. Then I'm gonna press on next, and this is where I have to add actions. So I'm gonna press on new action. So for example, I want airplane mode to be enabled at 10:30. So I'm gonna type airplane mode, set airplane mode, and then turn airplane mode on. That's fine. I also want to disable Wi-Fi, and as you can see here on action suggestions, it says set Wi-Fi. So I'm just gonna press on this plus button, and I want Wi-Fi to be turned off. So just gonna press on the on label right here. I also want to disable Bluetooth if it's already enabled, so just gonna press on off as well. And I also want to enable low power mode. So just gonna type here low power mode, set low power mode, turn on lower power mode. That's okay. Then I press on next, and then done. And as you can see here, at 10:30 every single day, all these functions will be automatically set. And you can also edit them if you don't like. So you can press on the X button in order to remove one, or even add one if you want. And here are also some other examples that I have used. So for example, when my battery life goes below 20%, these are all the functions which are gonna be set. So for example, we have low power mode, brightness to 10%, white point on, so that will be at 40%, and dark mode. So as you can see, the shortcut can become very powerful, and you have to explore and see what works for you. So what's your schedule and what exactly you want your phone to do at any specified time or at any specified event. So say that you go to school, you go to work, you do all sorts of stuff. So what exactly do you want your iPhone to do in order to not only save your battery life, but also to help you to keep yourself free of distraction. One last thing I want to share with you guys, which is extremely powerful if you don't use your iPhone for a certain time period. For example, when you sleep, and if you don't plan to use your phone for the next 1 or 2 days. It's a very good idea to power off your phone. So to do this, just press the home button and the volume up button at the same time, and then slide to power off, just like that. And the reason why we're doing this is because if you power off your iPhone completely, then you're basically turning off your iPhone. So you're shutting down all the functions of your iPhone, and this is not going to consume any battery at all. And to power on again, you just have to press down on the power button, keep holding it until you see the Apple logo on your screen. It's very common every single morning to notice that your battery level has gone down by about 5% or 60%, because when you turn off your iPhone just like that, pressing the power button once, then you're only turning off the screen and you're not completely turning off your iPhone. So that means that your iPhone is still working on the background, still does some refresh and stuff like that. Basically all the components of the iPhone still work. So it's a very good practice to power off your iPhone whenever you can in order to preserve as much battery as possible. So once you apply all these tips, please let me know down in the comment section if you managed to see any difference. And if you have, for how long does your battery life last now versus how much it was before? If you like this video guys, please hit the thumbs up button on the bottom right, and don't forget to share this video to your friends if they also have iPhones with iOS 15 and they want to maximize their battery life on their iPhones. Most importantly, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it in order to be the first one to see our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'm gonna see you in my next video.